Live from Moscow, this is RT with me, Yulia Shapovalova. Hello and welcome to the program. According to investigators, the surviving suspect in the Boston Marathon bombings says it's America's wars in Iraq and Afghanistan that led him and his brother to carry out the worst US-based attack since 9/11. After questioning 19-year-old Dzohkhor Tsarnaev, police believe the bombers were acting on their own initiative and not linked to any foreign terrorist group. RT's Anastasia Churkina reports now from Boston.
As the 19-year-old Boston bombing suspect, Dzohkhor Tsarnaev's condition improves from serious to fair, he's beginning to reveal information to investigators from what we're hearing on the ground. According to officials, Tsarnaev has said that the motive behind the two bombings that took place on Monday, April 15th, were the wars the U.S. has been fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan. According to officials, Tsarnaev has also said that him and his brother were self-radicalized. He allegedly says that the two brothers were not involved and were not in contact with any foreign extremist groups, and that they learned everything themselves by basically going online and learning how to build the bombs through the internet. He has also said that his older brother, Tamerlan Tsarnaev, who was 26 years old at the time of the bombings, is, according to Dzohkhor, the mastermind behind the attacks that they carried out. Now, here in Boston right now, obviously, as this investigation continues, the barricades of the area that was cordoned off at the finishing line of the Boston Marathon are being removed. We know that the 8-year-old victim of the bombings has been laid to rest here on Tuesday, and earlier Boston hospitals also announced that the number of people injured has risen up from over 175 to 260 people. Now, as this information comes in terms of Dzohkhor being able to share more, of course, we have to remind our viewers that he has been charged with the use of weapons of mass destruction, as well as malicious destruction of property resulting in death. And what this means is that Dzohkhor Tsarnaev is now faced with a death penalty or any number of years behind bars, including being imprisoned for life. He's also faced with a fine of $250,000 US, and obviously he's being treated as a federal criminal right now, although there was talk earlier about the possibility of trying him in a military tribunal, but the White House has revoked this option. It's also important to mention that, of course, the FBI now is being grilled about their knowledge of the older brother, Tamerlan Tsarnaev, traveling to Russia back in 2012. Because, of course, according to our knowledge, Russian officials advised the United States to look into his identity to see whether or not he could possibly be involved with any kind of extremist radical groups. And the FBI back then, 2 years ago, deemed him not dangerous and freed him up, and, of course, has been receiving major criticism here in Boston and throughout the United States, with people saying that possibly, maybe this attack could have been prevented. We're continuing reporting from the ground as this story develops. Anastasia Churkina, RT, Boston, Massachusetts.
And Charlie McGrath, founder of independent media outlet Wide Awake News, says the American war on terror breeds violence instead of curbing it.
Radicalizing the world seems to be what we're really good at right now. Getting people angry at this nation certainly seems to be a valid argument that is going to be brought before us in the future. We've been waging a war on terror for over a decade now. We've destabilized how many countries, and we're killing how many nationals that have nothing to do with terrorism whatsoever. And we're doing it for reasons that the American people have been lied to over, right? Weapons of mass destruction and so on. So can this lead to people becoming hostile towards the West? How can it not? In fact, the Columbia Law School's Human Rights Institute 6 months ago came out with a report showing, A, that Obama has exponentially increased the number of drone strikes since he's been president, but that 98% of the casualties on drone strikes are civilian. So it's 50 civilians killed for every one so-called high-value target that's being killed. The notion of we want peace with the rest of the world, well, that's all words. That's all talk when the camera's on. When those cameras are off, the drones fly and people die.
And for the latest updates on the Boston Marathon bombings, along with comprehensive analysis, head to our website, rt.com.